Recently in Hanoi, the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, in collaboration with the United Nations Development Programme in Vietnam, UNDP, the Ministry of Construction, and the People's Committees of the provinces of Nam Định, Thanh Hóa, Quảng Bình, Thừa Thiên Huế, Quảng Nam, Quảng Ngãi, and Cà Mau held a review conference on the project, improving the resilience of vulnerable coastal communities to climate change-related impacts in Vietnam in 2018.
Thì trong bối cảnh là một cái dự án mà cái cách tiếp cận khá mới, cho nên là liên quan đến rất là nhiều bộ ngành, nhiều địa phương, cho nên là cũng khá phức tạp trong quá trình vận hành. Tuy nhiên là trong năm 2018 thì phải nói là ban chỉ đạo cũng như là UNDP rồi Bộ Nông nghiệp, Bộ Xây dựng các địa phương cũng đã rất là nỗ lực tháo gỡ tất cả những cái vướng mắc khó khăn và để đạt được cái kế hoạch cơ bản trong năm 2018. Chúng ta đã xây dựng được hơn 1.000 cái căn nhà chống lũ cho bà con ở các vùng ven biển, các tỉnh Thanh Hóa, Quảng Bình, Quảng Nam, Quảng Ngãi, Thừa Thiên Huế và đã trồng được trên 200 hecta rừng ngập mặn và đã triển khai được cái đào tạo cán bộ trong cái chương trình nâng cao nhận thức cộng đồng.
With the aforementioned results, the project will make further efforts to realize the following objectives: building safe houses capable of resisting storms and floods for the poor, regenerating mangrove forests, and planning for information on risks and resilience to climate change in 7 coastal provinces within the framework of the project.
You are watching Sharing Vietnam on VTC 10 Net Việt. In today's talk show, let's find out more about one of the projects that UNDP has been implementing in Vietnam for the last 1 year. And the guest speaker of today's talk show is Ms. Kathleen Wiesent. She is the UNDP Acting Resident Representative. Thank you so much for joining us today. So after the very first year, what are the lessons has been learned and also will be applied into the other part of the project in the future?
Thank you. So one is the need for collaboration, and collaboration at the national level, at the provincial level, and at the local level with community, government, the UN, and partners. Absolutely critical. Second is sequencing. We need to make sure in terms of the planting seasons of mangroves that they're done in seasonally in a time that makes sense for the seasons within the provinces. So sequencing is key. Timing is key with the different provinces, the planting season and the housing, and collaboration and coordination is absolutely fundamental. The other dimension that we found is financing. So there are components that come from the Green Climate Fund with UNDP. There are also components that come from government. So aligning these in a way that's going to make a difference and also enable communities to participate is absolutely essential. And then working across ministries as well, Ministry of Construction, Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development. And we found that when we can sequence and we can collaborate effectively, the results move really swiftly. And that's our key learning and something that we'll bring forward. It's also engaged different ministries. So we work with the Ministry of Construction, Ministry of Agriculture, and these are very important to have very close relations between them. So it's required a very integrated response. And then it has to be seasonal, because there are times when you can build houses and there are times when you can plant mangroves and times when you can't. And the real push has been to make an impact before the storm season starts so that the results of the project can really benefit the communities. So it's been a really an all-out effort on all the different levels of government, the different levels of community, also our partners with civil society. But together I think we've had significant impact in year 1, and we think this will lay a really strong foundation for even stronger results in 2019.
In order to grow mangroves, it's not easy, and also in order to protect it from getting destroyed, it's also very difficult. So is there any measure or ideas put into this project in order to protect the new mangroves?
Absolutely, that's integrated into the whole mangrove restoration and regeneration part of the program. Maintenance is very important, otherwise mangroves that are planted, they require a lot of attention in the early years, and if they don't receive that kind of attention, they can atrophy. So maintenance is a critical component, and that's built in throughout. It is our hope also on the community-based disaster risk training that this will also help influence not just the project, but there's a suggestion this also be taken up at a national level and brought nationwide. Then it will have a significant impact beyond the project, where it's already having good impact, but significant impact beyond.
Is that a challenge for UNDP to implement this project in 7 different provinces in the center of Vietnam?
Well, in fact, it's 7 provinces are the core, but in fact, when we look at our community-based disaster management and we look at also our information and data dimension, that affects all the coastal communities, so it's actually more than 7. I don't think it has an impact. We were concerned at first, but we've been very impressed with the rollout at provincial level. So the 7 provinces have all been very actively engaged and have shown real commitment to these results and to making a difference. And it looks like they will have impact not just on the 7, but actually eventually when all the data sets come in and we look at putting early warning data into the hands of policymakers and especially community people who are impacted so that they can take action. That will be implementing far beyond just the 7 provinces, but all the 28 coastal provinces that are impacted.
This is a class about the risks of climate change affecting the lives of coastal residents. Similar courses have been conducted across 7 provinces, namely Nam Định, Thanh Hóa, Quảng Bình, Thừa Thiên Huế, Quảng Nam, Quảng Ngãi, and Cà Mau. These courses not only provide information for the local people, but also show them how to plan for climate change effectively.
Những năm gần đây thì biến đổi khí hậu gây ra là nước biển dâng cao và kèm theo đó là một số trận siêu bão đã làm cho là hệ thống đê kè bảo vệ người dân là bị sạt lở. Trong tương lai, theo kịch bản biến đổi khí hậu thì từ đây đến năm 2050 thì mực nước dâng lên 25 cm và như thế thì là ảnh hưởng tới cái tài sản và tính mạng của người dân sống ở sát biển.
These vulnerable people will have access to updated data on climate change around the world and in Vietnam, especially in the coastal areas, and also know about the serious consequences that these areas have suffered over the last time. Moreover, they can learn the practical experience on adaptation to climate change drawn by many countries around the world. With such useful knowledge, the local people can easily find ways to protect themselves and develop the livelihoods in accordance with the increasingly complex climate change situation today.
So we're talking about 10,000 of Vietnamese people who are going to be trained and receive training concerning climate change, adaptation, and risk management. So what are the real and practical knowledge that they're going to get?
Some of the activities include how to best protect your house, your assets. When storms or disasters happen, it affects your livelihoods, it affects the assets that you have, and the most important is saving lives. So what are the first actions that need to be taken to save lives? In many cases, and then what to do to protect the assets that you have, whether it's a house, whether it's livestock, whether it's agriculture, what actions you can take. And then what early warnings need to be heeded. And I think our very sad learning from the past is that when early warnings were conveyed, people didn't necessarily take action because they didn't believe it was so serious and wanted to stay in their homes. However, evacuation notices are extremely important and can make the difference between life and death. So when evacuations are given, action needs to be taken. When evacuation is not possible, then securing where you are and moving yourself to safer, higher ground, whether it's in an upper mezzanine, extremely important. And then how to rebuild back faster. And I think one of the key lessons we learn is that it takes an integrated approach. There's not one solution. You need communities to be aware. Everybody in the community, from the young to the old, need to be aware of actions to prevent, actions to take during a disaster, and actions to take immediately afterwards. The other is protecting your assets, starting with your homes. What actions can be taken to reinforce the structures you live in? What actions can be taken to make them more resilient to storms and surges? And then also what action can be taken with mangroves to protect against storm surge. So we try to really take an integrated approach. But that's very important for vulnerable coastal communities.
What can be done in the future in order to better engage the local communities, the local and central government of Vietnam in implementing this project?
I think one of the things we need to keep our eye on is the results and keeping moving forward at a rapid pace, because storms don't wait and people's lives are at stake. So we really need to move forward. It also means making available all the land that needs to be for the regeneration of mangroves. Also the close engagement of working with the provincial governments, very important, and local communities and UNDP to move forward with the sequencing that respects the environment and also the seasons, so that we take quick action on the mangrove restoration, particularly now in the next 6 months. So not a time to sit on one's laurels, very good achievements in year one, but very strong efforts that need to be made in the second year to redouble our efforts and to maintain and actually accelerate the kind of project actions that we've had so far, that we can deliver in a timely way that will set up a very strong GCF pipeline for Vietnam, not just for this year, but for the future to come.
I know that this can be a little bit early to ask, but do you have the vision for the legacy that this project will left behind after the project is going to be end?
So, it's a great question. In terms of a legacy, the project has foreseen 4,000 storm-resilient homes that would be built across 7 provinces. Also 4,000 hectares of mangroves that would be regenerated, and tens of thousands of people who would be trained in community-based training. But our hope and aspiration is that beyond the project, that the housing, 4,000 homes, will also inspire beyond those direct beneficiaries of the houses themselves for others to be able to replicate. Likewise, on community-based resilience, our hope would be that this would go nationwide, that this would be something that would impact all communities, who would be aware. They would be aware of what needs to be done. Their capacities on what to do would be very clear to them, and it would be on an ongoing basis. That also that women and those who are most vulnerable would be capacitated in these contexts. And then finally that the hectares of mangroves regenerated, the 4,000, is important. There's still more that needs to be done. And once these are demonstrated and it's viable and communities can undertake them with additional support and funding from national level, that this is something that will continue to be maintained and actually expanded well beyond the boundaries of the project itself.
It's great to hear the initial results of this project. Thank you so much, Ms. Kathleen Wiesen, for joining and sharing with us today. And we wish you and the project better success in the future.
Thank you so much.
That is the end of today's talk show. Thank you so much for watching Sharing Vietnam. For any questions or recommendation, please email to sharingvietnam@netviettv.net. Thank you for watching and see you next time.